I had a splendid voice. In fact, I'd sing in opera if they'd give me my choice. I wrote to Oscar Hammerstein that I would be his star. He said, come down and sing for me, and I'll see how good you are. And I don't suppose I'll do it again for months and months and months. No, I don't suppose I'll do it again for months and months and months. I sang the wise old owl, and he left the room at once. So I don't suppose I'll do it again for months and months and months.
Welcome to episode 11. I'm thrilled to have the wonderful Eugene O'Brien on this episode. Eugene is a legendary Irish writer of the stage and screen. His breakout hit Eden was first staged in the Peacock Theatre in 2001. It transferred to London with great success, and since then it's become a firm favourite of amateur dramatic theatre groups, with frequent productions staged in town halls and art centres up and down the country. In 2005, his hit TV series, Pure Mule, captured the cultural zeitgeist of Ireland's Celtic tiger in Midlands Ireland and set tongues wagging. The past 2 years has seen Eugene produce a body of work over a wide variety of mediums. This includes a book, 2 stage plays, one of which, Heaven, won a Fringe First Award at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and most recently a feature film called Tarrac. If you're interested in finding out more, then you can check out the link in the podcast description. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button, and if you know someone who would find the contents of this episode interesting, please send them a link. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I give you Eugene O'Brien.
So, Eugene, what is the best way to describe what it is that you're best known for, or what you're best known for doing?
Well, I suppose I would be best known for as a writer, and I've written for all the mediums, really. I like to mix it up. So, like, I've done radio drama, and I've done TV drama, and I've done screenplays for films, and I've done plays for the theatre, and I've written a novel as well. So I suppose I'd be best known for plays, really. Eden was a play I did it came out in 2001 in the Peacock, and it did well and gave me a career in writing. Before that, I was an actor for 10 years, jobbing actor. And I did shows around the country, and I did the Abbey, and I did Fair City for a year and a half back in 1998 into 1999. And so Eden would have been kind of a play that did very well for me, and out of that then came a TV show called Pure Mule, which was a big hit at the time, and people really liked it, and it caught a certain nerve of that time in Ireland, 2005, the Celtic Tiger, a rural drama, Sex in the Country, as it was nicknamed when we were developing it. So that was great. And most recently, I've had a return to activity. So writing can be up and down, and you're always developing stuff and writing away, but a lot of stuff doesn't get made, And so sometimes people think you've gone to sleep or something, and you haven't. You've been fucking killing yourself. But just there's no flow, and nothing's getting made. And we made a couple more films. And then in recent times, I wrote a book there last year called Going Back, which is about a character from Pure Mule. And I wrote another play called Heaven, which has been an absolute joy of an experience from beginning, and it's still ongoing. And it's been really successful. We went to Edinburgh this year, and we had a great time over there. Just absolutely steamrolled over there. The reviews are amazing. We packed out, and we won Fringe First Award, and it was just fantastic. So that's ongoing. There's talk of London now, and hopefully another run in Ireland and all that. So that's kind of what I'd be kind of known for, I suppose, is writing.
So did you come from like a creative background, or were your folks, say, involved in amateur dramatics or singing, or aunts or relatives or any of that?
Not really, to be honest. There was a bit of music in the family. My grandmother was a great woman to play the piano and very musical, and There was a bit of music stuff. There wasn't really anything. I mean, my father would have a big interest in, although he's in business, like he was also in business, but he had a huge interest in cinema and music as well. And he would have been the kind of boy, he was sent to boarding school, but he'd be the type of boy who was under the sheets listening to the Goon show on the radio, little radio up to his ear, you know. And so he was in that. He loved pottery, and he loved art, and he didn't like. He would be hiding when they were doing the rugby thing. It was one of these rugby schools, you know. So he hated that. but his refuge was kind of art and pottery and all that kind of thing. So there would be that going on. So yeah, but nothing. No one's really ever gone into it as such. My sister is a very fine artist. She paints extraordinary expressionistic kind of work. But yeah, so that would be the kind of there's no theatrics really as such.
And what about what was your first steps into it? Was it like school plays, or was it how you went to Dublin or London and you got sucked into it that way?
I suppose I was always just interested in it. We were very lucky when we were growing up because my family, we had a cinema in the town. So Eton Derry Cinema, it was Savoy Cinema, Eton Derry. It was in the square, closed down in 1996. And my grandfather had bought it in the early 50s, I think, or late 40s. So my father was obsessed with it, and I was obsessed with it. And as a child, I went there every Saturday to the matinees. And in those days, they showed you anything that was like they might have a kids' film on, but it was before video. So all the films just kept coming around again and again. So we saw, all the great spaghetti westerns. We saw The Wild Bunch, Sam Peckinpah film, very violent movie, blood splashing everywhere, and 500 kids watching this and totally getting off on it, and so that really instilled in me a great love of storytelling and cinema and all that kind of thing as a child, really. So I was always kind of really obsessed with it, and started writing stories when I was a teenager, and then just loved. I think there was a school musical in the town hall in 1983, and we did Grease, and no one would play the part of Eugene, which is the nerdy guy who's kind of the real, guy with the glasses, and none of the boys wanted to play him. So so they sent over 3 of the most attractive girls to the house to ask me would I, be involved. There was only 3 days to go, so I said yes. And I played Eugene, like a Jerry Lewis type thing, So I loved that. And I loved the communal thing of it, and that excitement before you even went across to the town hall. Our house was across from it. You could look across and see it. And so I just got the bug, really. And then I went to Dublin and I did College of Commerce and Rathmines, which is communications course, which is very much hands-on filmmaking. And you did linguistics and psychology and all, theory subjects, and you did film studies, but you got to make films. I always found myself either trying to write films, but in those days in Ireland, nobody taught you how to write films. We only learned how to write films in the last 20 years. There was nobody. We hadn't a clue how to do it. We were a literary country. We wrote novels and we were great at that, but we did not know that screenplay writing was a different beast completely. So anyway, we got a few classes in Rathmines. I remember the great Owen Harris used to come in and do this extraordinarily dramatic screen writing class, as only Owen could do. But it was great. And we had Pat Murphy, the great Irish filmmaker who made Anne Devlin and various other films. She was great. But so that was the kind of thing. But I always ended up in front of the camera, acting in front of the camera a lot of the time. And then also in college, like I got involved. We started a drama club kind of thing in Rathmines because there wasn't one. And Enda Walsh was involved, the great Irish playwright and screenwriter. So Enda and myself kind of organised this big Brecht play with 25 people in it. We went to Belfast in 1988. It was kind of mental, but I love that as well. Just that excitement of putting the show on, So when I left college, then I went to acting school at the weekends in a place called the Oscar School of Acting in Mountjoy Square. And then I started becoming a freelance actor, and jobbed from here to there, and but I was always writing stuff, one man shows for myself and that kind of thing. And then in 1999, I was in a house with two other actors having a great old time, and we just, in those days it was easy to be an artist or an actor in Dublin. The rent was very cheap. The rent allowance man would be terribly nice to you. We had a lovely man in Bagot Street Hospital who used to give us money, and he said he understood what we were trying to do, and he was just really understanding. But it was a place you could survive. I don't know how they do it nowadays, because you can't survive, so around that time, I had this idea for a play, and there was two characters that I'd used earlier in another one man, and I wrote this play called Eden, and didn't think anyone would have any real interest in it, but I managed to get it written. I was writing it by hand for a while, and then I went to a party, a dinner, at the end of a dinner party that a friend of mine invited me to, and I met this man from Northern Ireland who was very nice and said, I like the sound of your play. I'll drop round an old Commodore computer tomorrow morning to your address. You can finish it on that, because I think you need to get serious about it. This man, I think, had been involved in the Troubles as a very young man and had gone to prison as a result. And I think he was trying to do favors for people. He was trying to atone maybe for stuff he'd done, or, but so that was kind of crazy. So, but anyway, I thought he was messing, or I forgot about it. And I got up the next day. Kate went to the door with my hangover, and there he was with the computer, and he gave it to me, and I finished the play on the computer. And I gave it to various people. I was lucky because I was in the business, because I was an actor, so I gave it to a guy called David Parnell, who was an assistant director in the Abbey. He got it to Ben Barnes, who was the artistic director. He read it, loved it, and he decided he was going to put it on. So I escaped the slush pile of scripts,
So can I ask you
really quickly, actually?
What was the theatrical landscape like, say, with regards to new writing in Dublin at that particular time? Because this is sometimes I always think it's kind of like nearly the golden era of Irish new writing in theatre. There was yourself, there was Macpherson, Marina Carr would have been around that time, and a couple of other fairly big heavyweight playwrights coming through, like grassroots at that particular point. Can you describe what it was like for us?
Well, I think I was late to the party, Marina had been doing stuff since the early 90s. She had done stuff in the Peacock, and so she was really up and running. And then there was I suppose the monologue play revolution, or epidemic, as some people would call it, because people didn't like them or didn't think they were drama or whatever. There was always so that was Marco Rowe and Conor and everyone. So and that was a way of storytelling that people did because it was cheap and you could put the shows on. It was always hard to get plays on. It's always hard to get plays on in the Abbey. It's never changed. It's just very difficult. So there's even less people do plays now, because there's even less independent companies, there's less venues, so it's harder than it ever was. But in those days, I suppose it was a little bit easier. And I think a big influence in me was seeing Marco Rowe's play Howie the Rookie, because I saw it in the Bush Theatre in London in 1999. I remember it well. I was in London just visiting someone, and two of my pals, Carl Shields and Aidan Kelly, were both in this show, and I went to the Bush Theatre and saw the show, and I was so proud of them. It was like the Irish, Jesus, we're after winning the match. This is amazing. They were really knocking it out of the park. And so but the idea of the monologues, of the alternating monologues, really, really appealed to me. And I started writing Eden then as a result of that I would have this man and this woman who were, from Edenderry in County Offaly, and unhappy marriage, but they're in their early 30s, but married for 10 years and not communicating. They can communicate to us, the audience, but they can't communicate to each other. So that was kind of so as I say, I was lucky to get it on so quickly. Like, it was just one of those things, you know. Another artistic director, it might have been their cup of tea. It's always that thing with writing, you know, who the gatekeepers are and what their taste is, you know.
I mean, it's interesting. We've touched on this before. We had Tim Lone on a couple of
Oh
episodes
yes,
ago,
yeah,
and you know, he also stressed the look factor, particularly in writing, and how you may have a great idea, but it may not necessarily be somebody else's taste, like you said.
absolutely. You know, it's you know you work hard and you cultivate ideas and you know you do all that, and it is a little bit of a game of chance. You know, you just don't know what is going to fly. No one ever has any idea, and that's the way it'll always be. So all you can do is just sit at the desk and write. That's your job, you know.
It was like, I mean, Eden. I that would have been the first time I would have heard your name being
Hmm.
mentioned, Eden. I do remember the play being released, but I wasn't based in Dublin at the time, so I never saw the original run. I have seen it since. I thought it was a cracking play, and you went, like I said, from you know, hand to mouth existence in Dublin to all of a sudden having what could be described as the hit of the year, certainly in Dublin theatre, and if not, say in London as well. What was that change like? Was that scary? Were you terrified that, oh God, can I do this again, or is this just is the door? Am I through the door and the door is shut now? Or
Well, yeah, you can be a little bit. It can be a bit mad because people's perceptions of you change, you know, in the business and stuff, which was great. You know, so people who wouldn't have given you the time of day really were kind of, you know, wanting to talk to you and everything, and that was fantastic. Great, really great people, and you know, and so your ego becomes, you know, gets a bit massaged, and you know, you come into the pub and people want to talk to you, you know, but overall it was fantastic. I loved it, and loved the fact that I think it's only natural when you struggle for 10, 12 years to do something, and then suddenly you're making a splash, you know, kind of great. And but I suppose it was a bit scary sometimes, you know, and you didn't know how to take it sometimes. You know, you were probably drinking a bit too much at the time. There was a big drinking culture at that
yeah,
time. And everyone kind of would come together. Flowing Tide was the headquarters in Abbey Street, and every show in town used to go there in the late 90s. It'd be all the different booths and all the different shows, and everyone would meet up, and it was really great fun scene, you know. And there
yeah.
was a little place called the Sackville Lounge around the corner that used to stay open late in the late 90s before the 12:30 drinking came in. You know, at the weekend, it was an amazing place to go to because you know, most people were working till 10:30, and so there was a great scene anyway. You know, it was good crack.
And did you worry then about, say, like sitting down? I don't know if you decided that, well, I was going to be a full-time writer then, or I was going to continue on acting. But when it came to like sitting down and writing again, did you worry about, say,
I
about being
was
creative?
yeah, I think I was too innocent and didn't know what being a writer was. I mean, I knew I was going to be, well, I mean, I wanted to do it, so I'd no wish to act again, absolutely not. And the last show I did was a kind of a wedding comedy in Andrews Lane, end of 2000 into 2001. In fact, I was on stage in it, and Eden was on the Peacock at the same time. There was an overlap. And there were two very different pieces, and you know, but it was, and so I would go down to the Flowing Tide after doing the play, and everyone would be going, "Oh my God, you're brilliant!" And I try and be modest, you know. But no, it was mad time. But so the second play then wasn't good, and the reason for that was I just didn't really understand how to rewrite. And rewriting is really what writing is all about. The first play had been in me for, I'd say, for 20 years, and I you know, splurged it out, vomited it out. We edited a small bit, and rehearsal. I was very lucky to have Conor McPherson directing Eden as well. I mean, I was really, really lucky. And he agreed to do that, and he was brilliant, like so good at with the text and also just with advice and with everything. And he got a really, really good agent over from London to see it. And I've been with them for 20 years now, that agency, you know. And so Conor was brilliant. So the second play, I just didn't understand how to rewrite, and rewriting really is key in making choices. And the second play was about the cinema at home, because it was, you know, this place I was obsessed with. And it was about, I was kind of a character in it, an actor home from, a frustrated actor on a soap opera who was home for the weekend. And it was the last night of the cinema, the last picture show, you know. And this old cinema manager kind of loves him and it hates everybody else. And there's a projectionist in it. So there was great cinema stuff in it, great cinema paradiso, Eden Derry style stuff in it, but I didn't know what the play was about.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was good crack. I mean, there was lovely dialogue in it, and there was some good stuff, but overall it wasn't very good. Just didn't know what it was, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't have the vigor at the time to understand that you need to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite it. So it was on at the Peacock 2004, and it ran, you know, did its run, but it wasn't good. But I learned a lot from it. So it's always good to do a shit one because you learn a lot from it. And it's that cliche, I think, you learn more from your failures than your successes. So that's certainly true. So that was kind of happening then. And before, but what was really good to get over that was that the Pure Mule show we tried to develop in 2002, 2 years before that. Channel 4 were involved in that originally, and Element Pictures with Ed Guiney had read the play and loved it and asked me, what would you do some TV? And we started developing ideas with a great script editor called Lauren Mackenzie, and we were going to set it in a meat factory originally in the Midlands, and then it developed into other things, and you know, and then we wrote up stuff on RTE were interested, and Channel 4 were going to do a co-production with them, and it was going to be 8 episodes of 45 minutes, and then Channel 4 dropped it. They got another head of drama. This is what happens constantly to writers who came in and didn't get it. It's too Irish. I don't get it. Whatever. So that was gone. So it looked like that was dead in the water. But then in the summer of 2004, just after I was kind of licking my wounds after Savoy hadn't really done anything, suddenly RTE said, Mary Callery and RTE said, we're going to do this. And I was told to get writing because I had to rewrite the 8:45s into 6:54s, you know. So that meant a lot of reconstruction and change the story and making the stuff better anyway. So we worked really, 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 really hard, and it started shooting in November, and we were still working on 4, 5, and 6 when they were shooting 1, 2, and 3. But it was a whirlwind of a thing. You know what I mean? I didn't have time to think, and I didn't really know how it all worked, to be honest with you. I learned a lot about TV writing from Lauren, who was this great script editor and writer, and then suddenly it was out and it came out the next year and really, really hit a nerve and took off. It was fantastic.
Well, I remember that very, very clearly, the summer of 2005, and everybody was talking about Scobie and Shamey and Therese and Bomber, and it was as if, for some reason, and like I remember seeing it in 2005. I thought it was brilliant, and I rewatched it again during the lockdowns, and it had been since then since I'd last watched it, and I just thought it was an absolutely cracking piece of drama. And my mother's right; she says it's probably the best thing RTE has ever done. My mother she was a big fan of it, and we were kind of saying like, you know. Did you have like a crystal ball when you were in 2004 shaking it? Because it came out 2005, and by 2008 the dream was over for most people, and all those characters are teetering on the brink of something. That was kind of what we kind of that's what we dragged from that second viewing of it.
Yes. Well, the characters were all kind of and a lot of characters I write are people who are kind of teetering and are on edge or are stuck in a pattern of behavior or an emotional state, and my stuff is usually about something happening that either makes them move or not, or go the other way, and actually, so I suppose that was it, and it was trying to capture just that time where everyone was in employment, and it was the good times, and everyone was out. There was no that wasn't in question, and what was in question actually was your own self and your emotional inner life and who you were, and you're looking for love and all that kind of stuff. And there was no religion in it. There was no priest in Pure Mule. There was never a priest was even shown. So yeah, so we just wanted to show that, and a fairly accurate, because there hadn't been rural drama really since the Riordans and Bracken, and they'd been very fine shows. I mean, the Riordans was a weekly kind of soap opera, but it was a very good show because it tried to really do issues that were very sensitive to Ireland at the time. And Bracken was a really, really good drama that introduced the world to Gabriel the Byrne, and everyone fainted and wanted to go into the barn and have, have sex with him. But you know what I mean. But it was but there hadn't really been anything on screen since that, and so we got our chance and we took it. So it was great. And it was just a good team. It was very well produced. David Collins was involved as well with Ed, and Charlie McCarthy directed 3 of them, and Declan Rex, my pal, who I worked with a lot, he directed the first 3. They both did great work. We had a great cast, and we found a lot of new people on that show. And it just was a joy from beginning to end. There was no nonsense. It just worked, and the response was amazing.
And it's still held up. Like, I mean, the towns that it was shot in are still, like, where it was shot, there's still landmarks within the towns. My brother used to live in Birr, and he'd often comment, we'd go down to visit him, and we'd often walk past the kind of like, it's kind of a side street going down near Melba's nightclub, and he'd say, that's where Bomber and Trace were sitting. And it became this, like, literally this legendary thing in several little towns, and like landmarks. That was thing.
Yeah. No, it was great. It was great. People kind of took it to their heart, and some people hated it, which is great. I mean, we got a reaction. There was always talk about it, and at the time, probably should have gone for a second series at the time in 2005. There was a change of guard in RT drama, the dreaded change of guard, that can happen. But I had this other show I was developing, and I was really wanting to try on the back of Pure Mule to get this other show up and running. And what I really should have done was gone and done another series of Pure Mule. It's very hard to get a show going. So once you got one going and it's working, you should get another go of it. There was loads of new characters I had, and people in the show we could have focused on.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was not the way it happened, and we tried to do this with the show. We nearly got made and didn't in the end, and that kind of took the wind out of my sails. And but we live and learn.
With regards now, say, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the theatre writing or the TV writing? Which would be?
I don't really prefer. I mean, it's the one you're doing, you get into and you love. Like both are very different, and I like to do different things all the time because it just keeps you fresh. And you need to have about 5 or 6 things on the go all the time, because if you're waiting, especially the film world, if you're waiting for people to say stuff or people to read stuff, you really get frustrated. You'll become an angry person. And so you need to just have a load of stuff on the go. So I whatever I'm doing, I love doing, and theatre is fantastic. The live thing, the rehearsal room, the audience reaction, going to see the shows, it's magic, absolutely magic. It's like a drug, and it brings you back for more. And the TV things, and film thing is a different drug, but Film TV is harder to get the stuff on. It's a more of a process. There's more voices involved. There's more people having to say. Some helpful, some not. Because there's money involved. There's big money involved. So it's a different kind of animal. Plays are more collegiate. I suppose they're just more easier to do, and more easygoing on your system. Film and TV is you're always waiting how they're going to do it, and then there's the next thing to get through, and then the next thing, and the next. You have to go through about 25 different stages of it. But again, it's magic, when you see stuff being shot, like when you visit the set for the first day and you see the people. I mean, it's unbelievable.
That brings me. I came out of big cinema goer, loved the cinema, and I came out of Tarrac a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, great! You saw it.
I saw it. I was absolutely blown away by it, Eugene. Absolutely blown away by it. What a fascinating concept. I just went, how was this not being said before? I completely forgot that we're an island and we have a great boating history, but it never seems to find its way onto screen, or maybe not even onto page. But can you tell us a little bit about Tarrac? Tell us first of all what it's about.
Well, Tarrac's film was part of the TG4 Cine 4 scheme that TG4 started up about 3 or 4 years ago, and The Quiet Girl came out of, which was went on to be nominated for an Oscar and all that. So we got together, myself and Declan Rex, who I work with a lot. He's a director, and we got together with Cliona Navukala, who's a producer. And Cliona had this idea of setting something in the world of Navogues, which is this world of boat racing in Kerry. They're 4-person Tarrac type boats. They're called Navogues. Little Saints is the translation. And so we wanted to make a film about this, and I had a character called the Bear, who was this kind of unreconstructed, old-fashioned, big man, ex-alcoholic, pretty nasty fucker, but now he's kind of quieting down, has a heart condition, still rowing, and has a very poor relationship with his daughter. So that was so then we kind of foregrounded his daughter then more of the story, so it became her story more than his, actually, and his character kind of changed as we developed the film. So that was it. So the great thing about the Cine 4 scheme is that you get this great momentum in it. They tell you very quickly that you've got the money, and then you're in business. And then COVID kind of interrupted it, and we didn't get to shoot it till 2021. So it's taken 2 years for it to get to a cinema screen, just by the time you get distributors and all that. So it was great. We shot it down in West Kerry, Ballyferriter, edge of the world, right out in next stop America. And we had only four weeks to do it. Budget very tight, and managed to pull it off. So it's it's a good movie. I think it's a good feel good. It's authentic, and I wish you could get it out to more people to see. And it's hard when you don't have a publicity machine, so no one hears about it. And I was disappointed in some of the ways it was publicized. But anyway, that's another story. But it's still doing festivals and still be shown around in places. It's on in the Foyle Festival in Derry next Saturday. So I think I'm going to be at that doing a Q&A, as far as I know. And it was in London Irish one the other week, in Manchester before. So it's getting around a bit, but hopefully it'll find its audience maybe on a streamer or movie or something like that. And TG4 have to show it on the telly as well,
Great. And it's completely Oscailga.
It's completely Oscailga, but Níl in Gaelga a gum.
Okay, I was wondering. I asked that question.
So Cliona is a native speaker, our producer. So what we did was, she's a great producer with story, and that's her speciality. Really, as a producer, is the story and the talent in that. And so we would organize the story together. Like, we would spend days talking this stuff up and down the walls, and then I would go away and write treatments, and we come back, and you write a treatment before you ever go near a script, which is a kind of a 10-page essay on what the film prose, what the film is. and then you really should work your treatment to death. This is the way I do it anyway. Before you go near an interior, house, day, writing your script with dialogue and all that. I don't do that till the very last bit. But because it's much easier to change treatment than it is 90 pages of script, So anyway, so we did a lot of that, and so Cleena knew the characters really well, and so she then would go and translate the dialogue, which we would do when we had a draft of a script that was worked on. We'd do 5 drafts in English, and then the final one we were happy with, she would then translate into Irish so that everyone could read it, the TG4 could read it and all that kind of stuff. So I was very happy with that. Film writing is 80% structure and emotional story beats. It's 20% dialogue. The dialogue is the sweetener, is the icing on the cake on the top, really. So that's how we did it. It's not ideal, but it was fine. It worked grand. I mean, on the set, I would have liked to have Irish for changing stuff on the set. It was hard to know, But usually what you end up doing when you have actors and you have a tape read on location, you end up cutting loads of stuff anyway, because actors can do it with look, so you end up. So we did that. So it worked out. It worked out well in the end. And the COVID actually worked out very well because we had a year where we couldn't shoot, and within that year we went at the script again, and we really started to strip it back and strip it back and strip it back. It was much less. It ended up being much less melodramatic than we had it. There was a lot more backstory. And we just cut all that, and also the daughter and the father are have far less open anger towards each other in the first hour. Do you know what I mean? They have a way of getting on with each other. They can go around each other, but it's all very nice and they're friendly and everything. And that's the way people do it. Irish people especially. We kind of don't like conflict. So, and that was much more realistic, we felt, than earlier drafts had them really going at each other,
I found it the interplay between the actors, I found it so naturalistic and realistic, and it felt as if you knew the people and you were in the room with them, that
great.
kind of a feeling.
Well, that's amazing. Well, we had a great cast again, and actors are amazing what they can do. And what the great thrill of writing is, you get a script and an actor picks it up and they do something which you never thought of. Do you know what I mean? And then you cut loads of dialogue because you don't need it, and actors can take characters off in totally different directions. So they're amazing. So we great cast on this one again, So so that's really exciting, and we're kind of, I suppose I'm trying to write another play at the moment, which will be a kind of trilogy of Eden and Heaven, which was another monologue play. That about a couple. So this will be again a third play about a couple. So I'm trying to work on that, and I'm kind of developing some TV as well, and a couple of shows for TV. So hopefully one of them will come off. But I think one of them especially is really good, and we've got development money, and we're in business, so hopefully that'll happen with another writer director called Tom Hall. So I'm excited over that. And we have another movie as well that myself and Declan are hoping to do with Samson, David Collins, who's a very experienced producer, and we're very excited about this project. So we shall. The script is good, which I don't often say, but I actually do feel the script is very good.
Are you very critical of your writing? Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to be, not in a way of being negative, but you have to be really, really hard on it. You have to keep investigating it and interrogating it and reading, getting it out to people and taking on board what they say, and so you especially film writing. Film writing is really all about rewriting. You rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it. So, but I think this new one is it's an idea that comes from my real core, and it's something myself and Declan are very keen on, and there's been an amazing reaction by people who've read it, and from David, the producer, is really really determined to try and get it made. So hopefully we'll get an answer at some point from Irish Film Board and go from there. So that's again the waiting game, you know, and the novenas and the whatever God you want to pray to.
Yeah, we had a very, very. I mean, your output over the last year, 2 years has been very prolific. You've had a book, had a film, and you've had 2 plays.
Yeah,
it's quite a lot. You know, is that the way it works? That all of a sudden, like there's a bit of a dry spell, then all of a sudden, bang! It all happens at once, and then it goes quiet again for writers.
Yeah, it can happen like that. You just get a good run of form, and your confidence is up, and the stuff is coming out, or you know, you get, or sometimes it's a timing thing where something you just started working on 6 years before comes on stream at the same time as something else. You know what I mean? It's kind of, so it can be, yeah. It's yeah. The last kind of couple of years has been good like that, yeah. And heaven will go again, you know. And this other show we did recently, it was a small, we were trying it out in Tala in the small theatre out in the Civic there upstairs, and it was a show called Falling to Earth, My Summer with Bowie, and it's a kind of a lighter piece. I suppose it's a very feel-good show about this very lonely, down on his luck kind of Edenderry man called Scott Kelly, who lives with his father, and he has to look after him. And he's, you know, he's very stuck in himself. He's semi-relying on drinking too much, and he's slightly traumatized. And so, but he has this extraordinary experience where he is sent out to a local secret recording studio. There's a place called Grouse Lodge in Westmeath, which is a recording studio that REM have used and Radiohead, and Michael Jackson was there for 6 months. So he goes out there to act as a security man for his uncle, and he ends up meeting David Bowie and getting this link with him. Bowie's over he's writing the Black Star album, and he's dying. And Scott and Bowie form this kind of weird bond that impacts Scott's life and makes him wake up. And it's a kind of a fantasy, really. But it's a one-man show. And it's good, I think, and the audiences absolutely loved it out in Tala. Like, it went down really well. It's very funny, but it's also got dark moments. And we had a brilliant actor called Stephen Jones, who's from Tala actually, but he totally, man, he got the Offaly thing. He found his inner Offaly, and he was absolutely amazing. So it's going to come back next year at some point. So hopefully look out for it. It's really good, and we'll have in a bigger venue hopefully, and maybe a tour. So and Stephen has a show on at the moment called Northern Lights, which he wrote and stars in, and it's a really fine show. I've seen the first 3 episodes, so it's well worth seeing.
I've seen the play. I saw the play at Theatre Upstairs when it was first.
Yes,
it's about 4 years ago. Yeah,
4 or 5. Yeah, the late great Carl Shields had produced it, and Steve. So it's a really lovely show. It's insightful about relationships, and it's there's trauma, and there's lovely kind of romantic comedy in it as well, and it's a nice mix, a great tone, and it's very nice, beautifully performed. And it's a show that doesn't have people trying to kill each other, which is always a nice change in this day and age. Every fucking show and series seems to have a girl's body in the woods. Yeah. So it's a great breath of fresh air from that. Yeah.
I was talking about that with one of my other guests as well quite recently, actually. This consistent delve towards the darkness, and there seems to be no kind of lightheartedness, or at least an attempt at lightheartedness to and it's
the same type of darkness though. Like, it's not like darkness, we love a bit of darkness, but it's people being butchered and murdered and hidden fellas, dysfunctional people trying to find them and all this kind of thing. Anyway, it's people really like it. It's I don't know what it is. I suppose we're living in a very anxious age or something. People have a lot of anxiety, and maybe they get out. The anxiety is by following this gruesome stuff and feeling it's not you, maybe you feel better about yourself. I don't know. Anyway, but some of it is brilliant. I mean, some of the crime stuff is absolutely brilliant, and some of the crime writing is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just it wouldn't be my thing. But
that saturation point, I think maybe
it's a saturation point, and the really good stuff. Then it's harder to see it because there's so much around.
Funny enough, I was at the BBC about 4 years ago. Do you ever hear of BBC Script Room?
Yes.
The writers' room. Basically, there was a lady over from London giving all the writers a talk about that, and she said, "Well, whatever you do, don't write a crime drama." She says everyone's got crime dramas, unless it's unique. I don't want to see it. That's basically what she said. Like, so yeah, I think they're at saturation point too.
I think so, and there'll be a swing back, which would be great. And certainly, any kind of stuff I'm trying to develop at the moment in TV land is more relationship based and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Just one question for you before we wrap it up. You wrote a book 2 years ago.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. What was the process like for that? Because that's very different from writing a script for film and television or writing a script for theatre. What was that like?
Well, it was a very different experience. Yeah. I mean, it was again lockdown. As you said, you would watch Pure Mule again during lockdown because they showed it. So a lot of people did, which was great. And a publisher, Guild Publishers, a woman there saw it again, and they started talking about it in the office, and they loved it and said, "Would we approach him? Would he write a novel?" And then they asked me, did I have any ideas? And I said yes. And so they didn't want a Pure Mule book per se, but I kind of wanted to go into the Scobie Donoghue character again. I was very interested in him. I was also interested in that generation that had gone to Australia after the last crash and whatever, because there's 150,000 people down there. There's never been anything written about them. It's just about that whole thing of someone coming back from that, and what was Scobie's, what was that the root of his inability to settle, So yeah, that's the book came out of that really, and I wrote it pretty quickly, and I enjoyed it, and it's just a very different experience because it's about words. It's about, you're looking at your word count every day. Like it's a different experience. You have to describe everything and try and because you in screenplays it's very blunt writing. It's a man gets off bus. Man, you only mention something in screenwriting if it's of significance to telling the story. The man gets off bus with blue suitcase. So the blue suitcase better pay off somewhere. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a fucking suitcase. You know what I mean? Like, everything has to do something because it's what you're describing, what you see on screen. Whereas in a book, you have to be more illustrative. You have to use words in a nicer way, and you really have to take your time over sentences. And so that was which I really enjoyed doing. And also you have access to a character's head. You can go in, stream of consciousness inside without thoughts. And I love that because in screenwriting, you don't get to do that. You have to show everything. It's very difficult. That's why screenwriting is very, very difficult art, You have to show what the character's thinking. They can't tell you, In bad drama, they do tell you. Or they tell someone else in a very blunt way, So so it was great. I really enjoyed it. I had a great editor again, who just was really experienced and fantastic, and she guided me through, gave me great advice, and told me how to shape the book. And so yeah, it was a really good experience, and I think people really liked it. I mean, it didn't sell. Everyone was kind of disappointed. It just did not sell. It did not catch the Pure Mule TV audience. I don't know. They just didn't either know about it or didn't want to read a book, or they just prefer. I don't know, or maybe it just. Yeah, I don't know, but it didn't quite do as well as we'd hoped.
Is there another book in you, do you think?
I'd say there probably is, but I don't know why. Not for a while. I'm kind of concentrating on TV at the moment now, to try and just get another one off the ground. So I put a lot of energy to that, and then the other play, and hopefully this film next year. So have a good bit to be going on with, so it's good. But at some time down further on down the trail,
So that wraps up this episode. A big thank you to Eugene for taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to me. If you've enjoyed the episode, please like it and share it with anyone who you think might be interested in its contents. We're back next Friday with a brand new episode. Until then, you've been listening to the Recluse's Cookbook, and I'm your host, Vinnie McHale.
My mother always told me that I had a splendid voice. In fact, I'd sing in opera if they'd give me my choice. I wrote to Oscar Hammerstein that I would be his star. He said, come down and sing for me, and I'll see how good you are. And I don't suppose I'll do it again for months and months and months. No, I don't suppose I'll do it again for months and months and months. I sang the wise old owl, and he left the room at once. So I don't suppose I'll do it again for months and months and months.